Hi, COMM 1010 students. I'm going to give you a demonstration of how an impromptu speech works. My assistant, actually my wife, is going to hand me 3 slips of paper. I'm going to look at those. She's going to time me as I decide which one to do, and then she'll keep timing me as I continue to give the speech. The key thing is don't waste much time determining which of these topics you get, right? You're going to decide that really quick. The big thing is to spend about 2.5 minutes tops preparing what you want to say. And that's where the prompt sheet comes in handy. You're going to see this later on in the video, but here is my prompt sheet, which again I've asked you all to fill out. You have one very similar to this. So you'll see this online, and then you can compare this to my actual speech, and you'll see how much I rely on this. So without further ado, let's go. Okay. Just wait until I pick one. Oh my. And by the way, I'll post all of these online for you. The one I think I'm going to pick is this one, Kath. It says, what human quality do we need more of and why? So if you'd start the timer, that'd be great. Thank you. Incidentally, this way you guys can see what I'm doing. If you're curious, just like any other video. Okay, I'm at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm actually now going to start timing my actual impromptu speech. And the topic that I selected is, what human quality do we need more of and why? So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you. So here goes. What human quality do we need more of and why? An old song from Dionne Warwick back from the early 1970s said, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. That's the only thing that there's just too little of. And that's what the world needs right now, more love. And to support what I'm going to say, I'm going to provide you with 3 examples, one from both literature and real life, one from a human being, and one from the world of music. My real life and literature example comes from a research biologist named Rachel Carson. And Carson was known in the 40s, 50s, and in the 1960s. And in the 50s, she was working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. But on the side, she had discovered that there was a chemical that was being introduced into the environment that was killing birds in huge numbers. And the chemical was called DDT. And she told her bosses and her higher ups about it, and they tended to just ignore her and said, "Don't worry about it, it's not our concern." Rachel Carson was concerned. She was so concerned because she loved the environment so much and she didn't want to see it damaged that she wrote a novel titled Silent Spring that talked about the environmental movement and what DDT was doing to the birds. Well, the novel became very popular and it drew a lot of public attention to what was really going on. She got called to testify before Congress, and an outgrowth of what she had done created Earth Day and today's environmental movement. And she did that, again, out of love for our planet. The second example, and we all know this one, is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who loved the humankind, but really loved the idea of equality for African Americans and equal rights for African Americans, and went to great lengths to champion that. He ended up being the chairperson behind the Montgomery bus boycott when that happened in Alabama in the mid-1950s. Later on, he found himself jailed in Birmingham, Alabama, and he wrote a letter to other pastors imploring them to come and support his cause. And letters from a Birmingham jail not only won the Nobel Prize, but drew world attention to the plight of African Americans in the United States. He was the keynote speaker in the March on Washington in September of 1963 and was instrumental behind the scenes in getting both the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 turned into law. And it was because of his methodology, nonviolent protest, that carried the day. He said, you can't blot out hate with hate. He said, only love can do that. Only love can blot out hate, he said. So it was Dr. King's leadership, Dr. King's inspiration, Dr. King's perseverance over dogs and fire hoses and police brutality and all of that that actually won the day and gave equality to African Americans. And he was assassinated at age 39. He left our world much too soon. The third example is from Bart Millard. And you might not know him too well, but you probably know his music. He's the guy that wrote a song called I Can Only Imagine. And Millard's song is the most played song in the history of Christian radio. It's the best-selling Christian song of all time with over 2.5 million copies. What most people don't know is it's based on Millard's personal experiences with his father, Arthur, who was a horrible man. He was abusive physically, emotionally, to his wife and to his two sons. And his father, however, did a 180-degree turn in his life when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He knew he was terminal. He wouldn't live much longer. And what he did is he basically got religion. He accepted Jesus Christ into his life and became a completely transformed man, very gentle, meek in spirit, and became basically best friends with his son, to whom he had profusely apologized for mistreating him over the years. After his dad died, Bart Millard, thinking back about what it would be like to be in heaven, where his father was, is how this song came into existence. So it was out of love for his father that Millard wrote this unbelievably popular song, I Can Only Imagine. So going back to the question, what human quality do we need more of? Love. And why? Because there's never enough supply of love in our world.